Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Today, we're gonna be doing things a little differently. We're just gonna take a look at one action figure. No other versions, not the character, just one toy. And what better subject than one of the most famous personalities in G.I. Joe, Cobra Commander. Specifically, we're taking a look at Hologram Cobra Commander. This figure was released in 2005 with no original body parts. Or no body parts at all from a certain point of view. I have so many questions about this thing. Most of them start with the word why. But before the whys, let's ask where. Where did this figure come from? Well, that one is at least easy to answer. He was part of a comic book 3-pack that comprised of Breaker, Scarlet, Hologram Cobra Commander, and a reproduction of the 9th issue of the original comic, called The Diplomat. In the issue, Cobra Commander appears briefly as a hologram to taunt the Joes and to tell them they're trapped and doomed. Spoilers, they weren't doomed. This also answers the first why. Why was this figure made? Because it reenacts a scene from the comic. The comic book figure packs had a habit of doing this. I've mentioned before how Cobra troops with gas masks were included because they appeared for one freaking panel in the tie-in comic. This leads me to the second why. Why did they make the comic packs like this? Well, honestly, I think they were copying their Star Wars line, and in more ways than one. Firstly, there have been Star Wars toys that specifically depict one scene of one of the movies. And secondly, of course there have been figures of holographic representations of the characters. But I have to ask, does this approach work for G.I. Joe? Sort of? These packs were aimed at collectors, not kids, and were in limited supply. But they seem to have done well, especially considering the G.I. Joe collecting community is like a fraction of a fraction the size of the Star Wars community. In the particular case of Holo CC though, well, being a hologram severely limits what you can do with the thing. There's only so many dioramas that could include it, unlike, say, practically any other figure out there. By the way, they went the cheap route with this toy by reusing the chest from the Talking Battle Commander version. These were toys that had huge backpacks screwed onto them that played voice clips. To accommodate this, the back was flattened, and it's really distracting on most figures that originally had this feature. In this case though, meh, it's a hologram anyway, so anything goes. It's not really a big deal. For the next why question, why does this thing look so familiar? There was something I couldn't quite put my finger on until I really looked at the translucent head, and then it hit me. Pac-Man! Hooded Cobra Commander's head really looks like a ghost from Pac-Man. Now that I've seen this, I can't unsee it. And hey, now neither can you. You're so welcome. Half the Battle, ruining the way you look at ruthless terrorists since 2012. With that, we come to the last why, and it's the biggest why of them all. This figure represents a hologram. A hologram that can't touch anything. This figure comes with a gun. Why would a hologram come with a freaking gun? Answer me, small inanimate object. Why do you have a gun? Why? Why? Okay, moving on. This is by far the weirdest G.I. Joe toy I ever looked at on this show. And remember, we've seen Birdman and a human-crocodile hybrid. The existence of this thing is just baffling to me. Sure, it looks cool and is a novelty, but the novelty wears off fast. In conclusion, while it certainly is an interesting piece, I wouldn't recommend it for a collection. By the way, you can thank my patrons for this review, as I would have never picked up this thing without their support. Well, see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?